take you back to a time where you can understand lyrics and music instead of this mumble stuff you're hearing these days. But anyway, good evening, everyone. Get some little lighting over here. And people are coming in gradually. Okay. Welcome those of you who are attending. Okay, I see Mr. Blackerman is here from the one-day seminar here. Tracy Wiley is here. Emmanuel is here. Very good, very good. Everybody's coming in. Very good. I see a few others, but I have a few people sign up for the one-day seminar training, which is held on Wednesdays. And I always get text messages when I'm in the trainings. But people can't sign in. I'm not sure why. Welcome again. So for those of you, so we're going to cover some basics because we have individuals in here who have signed up for the one-day up to 2-hour training seminar in what it is to be an independent freight dispatcher. And I assume that you received your starter kit in your enrollment. Those of you who signed up for the seminar training, hopefully that's the case. If not, just let us know and we'll make sure you get that. But it should be an automatic process once you enroll. You should get something in your email with all the information. Okay. So yeah, Stacy just enrolled. Okay, she's in. So good evening again, everyone. So independent freight dispatcher. What you're looking at on the screen, am I sharing the screen? Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And the record button is on. Great, great. And I will make this this video will be public too for our YouTube subscribers. I rarely do that, but I'll because it's more of an educational thing as well. When you enroll as an ongoing member, and those of you who signed up for the seminar, you have an opportunity, if you so choose, to join our family, if you will, because I believe that's who we are and what we are, by rolling over from seminar into ongoing training. If you do that, you will go back to your seminar purchase page and claim your voucher, okay? And it takes you down to the seminar voucher button. You will fill that out, your first and last name, your email, and what program did you recently purchase? That was the seminar training, and then hit submit. We will get a notification of that. This is for those who have just attending the seminar tonight and may decide to come into the ongoing training. We will get a notification of that, and we will take what you paid from the seminar and deduct it from the cost of the ongoing training, and we'll send you an invoice of that difference plus tax, okay? That's if you decide to do that, if you want to roll over into ongoing training, okay? That's number one. Number two, our Zoom training schedules are always on this page under Dispatcher 101 for the dispatcher side, and then we have one for the freight broker side, but you guys are dispatchers. So it's always under this header here, Zoom training schedule. So we have the last 4 months of the year, the dates and times. If there's going to be any cancellations, I will announce that in our private Facebook group. So if you are an ongoing member, please be sure to join the private Facebook group, because you, as an ongoing member, you qualify to become a member of the Facebook group, the private group, Dispatcher 101 members only, and so that we can keep you updated with information like that as well. So, and people are calling me trying to get in, that's fine. Okay, that person's in. This person needs the password. Let me see. All right. So there. Now, once you are an ongoing member, this is a self-paced ongoing training, okay, where you study the modules which are in the middle portion of the middle column, right? Module 1 is getting carriers. Module 2 is load boards and all that's involved in that. Module 3 is booking the loads once you get carriers and you find a load for them. And then module 4 is invoicing the carriers for your service as a dispatcher. So we hope that you go in that particular order. But when you first enroll in the ongoing training, of course, you want to go through your orientation, download your ebooks for self-study. If you haven't established your business yet, we have information for that. So we can help you with that a little bit. We won't do it for you, but we point you in the right direction. Okay. And let me go here real quick and get this information for this person. All right, so. And then we offer one-on-one consultations, referrals. We have a YouTube channel and a Facebook group, okay? And then over here in this column, we have all of course, the tools and resources that will help you additionally to assist you as a dispatcher. Different form templates and documents, different tools and resources that you would need as a dispatcher to help your carriers, your truck drivers, your owner operators. We have our training videos library. And then we also have how-to videos, how to do certain things that relates to dispatching, and then our ebook video series. So that's all encompassed in the back office. And then we have some bonus things. I'm going to change this around a little bit because we're offering you guys the ability to get your own load boards also, but I want to put that to the forefront. We're offering you the ability to get your own load boards without having an MC or DOT number. You can just sign up for 30 days for free of 123 load board. And then after the 30 days, they'll ask you, do you want to purchase a subscription, a $35, $45, or $55 a month, with just a premium subscription. So that's going to be pushed to the forefront because 123 and Exodus Logistics Learning Center has partnered with one another to provide that service for you guys to have the ability to have your own load boards without having to use your carrier's MC or DOT number. And it's still a carrier level login. So we have that feature available as well. So let's get into the basics of dispatching, right? What is a freight dispatcher? What is an independent freight dispatcher? Who are we? Who are you? What is your job? What is your purpose of doing this? Why did you want to get into this industry? Well, I'm going to assume that you wanted to get into this industry because you felt that it is an industry that's not going anywhere. It is recession, pandemic proof, because if you notice, not a lot of things have been going on, these different diseases going around, monkeypox, this plandemic, I call it, going around, different viruses and things like that. The economic fluctuations has been going around. In the midst of all of that, freight and goods have still been moving. Trucks are still on the road getting goods to and from shippers and receivers. Because if that was to shut down, then the economy would really be in a situation, okay? So you have chosen an industry that's not going anywhere. You have chosen a portion of the industry that's the easiest entry point to enter into from, right? Which is dispatching. Dispatchers do not require an MC or DOT, a motor carrier number or Department of Transportation numbers. the motor carriers and the freight brokers do. Dispatchers need you have to have your business set up, right? Your business name, your business structure, whether it's a sole proprietor, whether it's an S Corp, LLC, partnership, however you structure that, and then an EIN number attached to that. And then after that, you have to have some formal training in understanding how you are to dispatch for your truck drivers, for your carriers, okay? So whether it's formal training through us or formal training through whoever you deem qualified, that you have qualified, right? That met your requirements to train you to be able to dispatch for the owner operators. Now with us, we try to give you the easiest ways to start, okay? So like, for example, in module 1, if you're doing the self-paced portion of it, right? We give you a little bit of the history of the industry, the different modes of transportation, air freight at airports, rail, seaports with the ocean freight, and then of course, trucking, right? Before we get into you guys are going to mainly be dealing with starting out with the trucking side. You're going to be dispatching for truck drivers, owner operators, or what's called carriers. Carriers are people who have maybe multiple assets, multiple trucks, a trucking company or a carrier, okay? Or a one-man team, or one truck and one trailer, which is an owner operator. They own the truck and they operate it. It's their company, okay? So what we do is we give you the easy way in, and we tell you the difficult things too for you to decide, and you just take the fork in the road. What do I mean by that? Well, when you're dispatching for truckers, we give you some equipment types, right? What is an equipment type? What are the three, we call them the 3 major equipment types, right? That will be easiest for you to start off as a dispatcher. And then we go into other specialty equipment types too that exist, but we refer you not to start off with them. We don't limit you to just the 3 major equipment types, but we tell you to start off with the 3 major equipment types. So an equipment type, by definition, is the truck, the tractor, or the power unit, and the type of trailer that's connected to it or coupled to it, okay? So for example, the first of the 3 major equipment types is the dry van, and the trailer is 53 feet, not inches, 53 feet in length, okay? This is a dry van trailer, okay? All right, that is the first equipment type. The weight in the trailer maximums is between 42 to 45,000 pounds. The gross vehicle weight rating, GVWR, which includes the trailer and the truck, is 80,000 pounds, okay? So keep that in mind, but the trailer can get between 42 to 45,000, okay? Some people call this useless information, but for a dispatcher, it can be helpful, because you may have a truck driver, an owner operator, who only wants 30 or 40,000 pounds in their trailer. And if you don't know the weight limitations or the weight maximums of a unit, you can overbook, or you can book a load that's overweight, and it'll be an issue, right? So the first of the 3 major equipment types is the dry van, and it's 53. The trailer is 53 feet in length, okay? Number 2 is the refrigerator, or what we call reefer, if you see here on the screen, reefer, okay? It looks similar to the dry van, except it has a unit on the front of it. It's called a temperature control unit. That's what it's in this refrigeration. That's why it's called reefer, is short for refrigerated or refrigeration, because what's being hauled in the trailer, whatever's being hauled in a trailer by a truck driver is called a load, a commodity, goods, whatever it is, freight. You know, these are different various names that are synonymous to one another, okay? So number 2, this trailer also is 53 feet in length, okay? So I'm answering the same time, multitasking, I guess. The weight can be up to 44,000 pounds because you have a unit on the front of the trailer that also has a little weight to it too. It has components, it has a motor. It needs to run to keep whatever is being hauled in the trailer cool to a certain temperature. Okay, 0 degrees, -5 degrees, -10, 34 degrees, depending on the commodity or the freight that's being hauled determines what that temperature should be running at continuously from the time that your truck driver that you're dispatching for picks that load up from a shipper and transports it to a receiver for delivery, okay? So that's the second of the 3 major equipment types. The third of the 3 major equipment types is the flatbed. And there are 2 choices for the flatbeds in the third major equipment type category, 48 or 53-foot trailer length flatbeds, okay? Weight between 46 to 48,000 pounds, okay? So those are the 3 major equipment types that the Exodus Logistics Learning Center's Dispatcher 101 platform or program recommends new dispatching members to focus on as far as going after carriers to dispatch for initially. To start off, your easiest entry point, make your life easier, okay? Because these equipment types are out here on the road a lot, the most. You can find loads for them on the load boards, the easiest, okay? And they pay the better rates. They pay better, okay? Now, what is the polar opposite of that? What is the polar opposite of the 3 major equipment types? Well, we call those, and I don't want to say polar opposites in a negative way, but specialty equipment types, okay? And you will run across when you were trying to get carriers to dispatch for, and you're either doing cold calling, visiting truck stops, doing social media campaigns, emails, texts, LinkedIn, or whatever you are, whatever strategy that you use or method that you use to get carriers, truck drivers, owner operators, you will come across specialty types of owner operators who drive the specialty equipment types also, okay? The first of which is a box truck, 16, 20, 24, or 26-foot box truck, okay? CDL, non-CDL, okay? CDL stands for Commercial Driver's License. Class A is okay, but also a Class B, a person with a Class B Commercial Driver's License, CDL, is eligible to drive a box truck, okay? The weight in the box for non-CDL is up to about 10,000 pounds, about 99.50 or something like that, okay? CDL is a little bit more than that, close to 13,000, okay? That's the box truck, specialty equipment type. Power only is in the category of specialty equipment type. The power only means is just that. It's just a power unit only. It doesn't have a trailer. If you notice in this image, it doesn't have a trailer connected to it, okay? You can haul loads from the porch with the containers. If you get a chassis trailer and you put a container on it, you can do drop-in hooks, load outs, towaways, things of that nature. So that's what the power only is, okay? Hot shots. You may have heard of a hot shot, a dually pickup, right? Dually pickup truck, like a Ram or a Ford or a Chevy 4500, 3500 with a Ram. I saw one today actually at a 7-Eleven. I was heading home with a 40-foot trailer hitched to the dually, right? And it can have weight on it. It's up to 40 feet in the trailer. You can have between 20 to 30,000 pounds, depending on the number of axles, depending on how spread they are, things of that nature. Looking at this trailer here, how many axles are on the trailer you guys see?
Three.
Three.
Three, that's correct. Somebody said 3, like you weren't sure, right? You whatever number.
My eyes might be lying to me.
Yeah.
Three. It's a trick question.
3 axles. So from one side of the wheel to the other side of the wheel, that whole unit component is an axle. Okay, that's an axle. And there's 3 of them. Okay, so and then finally, in the specialty equipment types, you have what's called the sprinter vans and the cargo vans. Okay, so those are the specialty equipment types. Now, here is something that you may come across in your journey or in your quest of finding truck drivers, owner operators to dispatch for. You may find it easy for someone with a specialty equipment type that wants you to dispatch for them. Okay, but you're going to find it challenging finding loads for them. Okay, as opposed to you're going to have a little bit of a challenge getting carriers of the 3 major equipment types wanting you to be their dispatcher. You can do it, but you're going to have more of a challenge than you will with the specialty ones. But once you get a carrier who drives one of the 3 major equipment types under a dispatcher agreement, under contract with you, finding loads for them is much easier than it is for the specialty equipment types. So the question becomes for you as an entrepreneur, as a business, which situation would you rather be in? Would you want your vegetables first and then the dessert, or vice versa, right? Would you rather have your challenge, a little bit of a challenge up front, and then once you get past that hurdle, it opens up the floodgates as far as getting loads and freight? Or would you want it to be easier for you to get a carrier up front, and then you're going to be struggling finding loads for them, right? So that's the paradox that's being presented in the difference between the specialty equipment types, the 3 specialties, and then the 3 major equipment types, and the difference in that and the specialty equipment types. That is the paradox that you're going to run into. And I've noticed it over and over again when students call me and say, hey, I got my first carrier. Yeah. The first thing I ask them is, what equipment type is that carrier? Oh, yeah, it's a 26-foot box truck. I said, okay. Are you ready to go on this journey? Because it's going to be a challenge finding loads. I'm not saying it's impossible, but think of how much easier life will be if you get a carrier with one of the 3 major equipment types, because those are the ones that are out here the most. These are the full truckload types of equipment types. That means more freight can be loaded on those types of equipment types. That means more money can be generated for you, for the carrier, and then ultimately you, right? So any questions about this section before we move on?
Yes.
Okay, Adam Myers.
Yes, sir. What's up, Charles? Nice talking to you again. But okay, so when you are looking for loads, I haven't started looking for loads yet, but what I noticed when you were looking for loads is that, and you might remember this, you might not, there are different categories of one specific equipment type that you can pick, just say like on 123 load board or DAT trucking or whatever.
Okay. I'm glad you brought that up. Let's go there.
What I'm scared of is that I don't pick all the equipment. Can we go over every category of all 3 equipment types that we need to search for? Because I'm scared that if I have
we can go over that, but not tonight for the sake of time.
That's cool. But
the one thing that I can suggest to you is when you get your carrier under a carrier agreement, a dispatcher agreement, I should say.
Right.
And on the carrier profile, you ask them for their equipment type, what type of equipment type, and you want them to be as specific as possible. They'll say, I got a flatbed. Okay, is it a standard flatbed or is it something of some kind of variation, like a step deck, double drop, whatever, right? No, I just got a regular skateboard, a 48 by 102, 48 foot, or a 53 by 102. If they tell you specifically what their equipment type is, then you won't have a difficulty finding them a load because you know exactly what loads you're looking for that specific equipment type.
But wasn't there a time, I remember that maybe not the 2 trainings or 1 training ago, but maybe 2 or 3 trainings ago, you looked at that board or whatever, and then you started going over. I have it written down, but I don't have my notes
Right.
with me. But
I
you
know,
started
I know
going,
exactly. I know exactly what you're saying.
and I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, I thought there was only like one like option I could pick, but you picked like 5 of them. I'm like, man, there's no way I'm gonna remember all this.
Right, right. So what we were looking for, I believe it was a load for a hot shot, I believe. And the hot shots, if you
I mean,
notice,
it was. You're right.
a load for a hot shot, look, the hot shot specialty equipment types fall in the flatbed category. It looks like a flatbed, right?
Right.
So you would go up when you search for loads for a hot shot, and let's do that now. Like you said, we were looking at the DAT board. So let's give you guys some load board. If I can get it to my. Load board here. So this is DAT, D-A-T, dial a truck. That's what it stands for. You search loads and any and only, right? So I'm going to say only flat. So if you're looking for a load for a hot shot, let's say we're looking for a hot shot load. And where you're from, where you're out of, Adam, what city are you out of? What major metropolitan area are you out of?
Actually, I'm in Atlanta right now.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just put Atlanta. So, but we're looking for a hot shot. So we're going to go to the flatbed category. And if you notice all these different flatbed variations, you see that?
Exactly.
Right. So this is what you were referring to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to say flatbed. Okay. We'll go back there. We're going to choose air ride because of a flatbed trailer has air ride suspensions as opposed to spring suspensions. Okay.
So let me ask you this. So how would we know that though? If we hadn't heard from you right now, and just say we were ready to go, and just say like we wanted to go out on the limb and we wanted to go ahead and do the specialty truck, which is one of them, which is a flatbed. How would we know to ask them that?
You don't have to ask them that. Air ride suspensions are the most common types of suspension these days for the trailer as opposed to spring. Springs were back in the old days.
Okay? Yes, sir.
So it's not even a concern at this point. But that's a great question though. You would know that you can even put that on your profile sheet, your carrier profile, when you're asking them those litany of questions to try to get as much detailed information about their equipment type so that you can provide the best service to them when you're finding loads for them. That could be a particular question you have. Hey, what type of trailer do you have? Well, I got a flatbed or I got a hot shot. Okay, is it an air ride? What type of suspension do you have? Is it air ride or spring? You've heard that now, but you've never heard it before. But now that you've heard it, now there's some new knowledge for you to make reference to. And it'll alert them like, well, this person kind of has an understanding of the industry. They know a little bit, right? They're asking me the different types of suspensions on my trailer. They must know a little bit of something, right? So you come
so it's air ride or springs?
Springs, right? You have spring suspensions, the old metal springs, real tough, and then air rides. When you dump your air or blow your air up, like when you dump your air on your trailers to lower it so it can level off with the loading dock, so that you can put the dock plate on it and the forklift can go across evenly. You're dumping your air, okay? And when you get ready to ride it out, you're starting your engine up and you're building that air back up to a certain level so that you can go ahead and pull off and you have enough support when you're transporting that, or your carrier, I should say, not you, but the carrier, okay? All right, so we'll say flatbed air ride. We're in the hot shot category. So flatbed is flatbed air ride because the suspensions are air ride. It's not Conestoga. What is a Conestoga? That's a curtain around the trailer. Okay.
Right.
That's what a Conestoga. For those of you who don't know what a Conestoga. And since I'm doing this, let me give you thorough information, right? So you can see it. So whenever you want to know something or you want to see what something looks like, always go to images.google.com. Images.google.com. I'm gonna copy this for you guys. When you want to look at something and understand what it is, images.google.com, okay? And then just type in what you're looking for. Let's say Conestoga trailer, right? So Conestoga trailer, okay? And that's what it looks like. These are Conestoga trailer, like curtains around the trailer. That's what a Conestoga is, okay? So a hot shot is not that. So for the sake of our looking up a hot shot load, it's not a Conestoga, okay? So we won't select that. It's not double, flatbed double. It's not a double trailer. It's not two trailers, so we're not looking at that. It's not hazmat, not hazardous material, unless your hot shot carrier is carrying a hazmat load and they have a hazmat endorsement. But typically that's not the case. But if it is, if it applies, then you select it. If it doesn't, then you don't select it, okay? Flatbed hot shot, we select that because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a flatbed hot shot load, okay? Flatbed maxi, no, it's not that because maxis are 65,000 pounds on the trailer or more. Those are the heavy haul types of loads. So those are the RGNs, the removable goosenecks. So it's not that, okay? Flatbed or step deck, you can select that, but I won't. Flatbeds with size, that's the same thing as Conestogas, okay? Flatbeds with tarps, you can select this for your hot shot if your carrier has tarps with his hot shot trailer. Okay.
What's the difference between the tarp and the Conestoga though?
The Conestoga is a curtain that goes completely around the trailer, okay, like this. Tarps is you can just use tarps to cover up specific cargo. You don't have to cover it. Okay. So that's what tarps are. You can just it's like a blanket. You just put it over there because you may not want something to get wet while you're transporting it, or the broker may require you to tarp a particular shipment while it's being transported to avoid it from getting moisture or wet. So that the owner operator tarps it, put it over there, they put the straps and chains and binders and strap it in, and it's tarped and it's covered and protected. Okay. So with or without tarps, and then I think everything else doesn't apply to the hot shot. So that's the hot shot category. Now, another thing you want to look when you're looking up loads for specialty equipment types is you want to put their correct weight limitations and lengths in there. So flatbeds, hot shot goes up to 40 feet and it goes up to about 30,000 pounds. Okay. So if you do not remember to put that in there, then you're going to get loads that are beyond the weight limitations of the hot shot, and you may run into an issue because you may book a load that's you don't have enough capacity to haul, or your carrier does, right? So now you just hit search. You will put the deadhead at 100, and then hit search and go from there. Okay, so we came up with 17 flatbed hot shots. This first one's going from Union Grove, Alabama to Hapsburg, Iowa. 24 feet in length, 16,000 pounds. It is a flatbed. It's a full truckload. It's a flatbed hot shot. It picks up on tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
So that's how you would look up. That's how you would do a load search for a specialty equipment type. You want to make sure that you put all the specifics in there for that specialty equipment type. But now, if this was just a regular flatbed load, you could take some of this stuff out. If you wanted a flatbed load, one of the three major equipment types, you wanted to come out of Atlanta still going anywhere, you can take out the flatbed air ride, you can take out the flatbed hot shot and just say flatbed. And you can remove the 40-foot because flatbeds are either 48 or 53 foot in length. And you can remove the weight because they're going to be between 46 and 48,000 pounds. You hit that, and guess what's going to happen? You're going to get 1,733 results.
Wow.
Remember I said the three major equipment types are out there the most. You can find more loads for them on the loads the easiest, and they pay the better rates. Did I not say that when I first went over the three major equipment types?
Right.
Okay. And then I just put it in order. I put the rates in order numerically of what's the brokers posted. So here's one for $5,000, but it's going from Georgia to over to California. So the question becomes now in your dispatching, is it worth it to take that load from Georgia all the way over to California, some 2,200, 2,300 miles for only $5,000 at 46,000 pounds? You're hauling through the Rocky Mountains, unless you're going the southern part of the state, like I-10 along Panhandle and all that stuff, through Texas and all that stuff. So these are things you have to consider as a dispatcher, right? The route that the carrier is going to take. And the carrier is going to tell you, I'm not taking 46,000 pounds of freight for $5,000 from Atlanta to California at 2,300 miles. I'll do it for 10 or 9,000.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because they know what they have to deal with. They're burning, you know how much fuel they're going to burn going, right? Well, you don't know, but let me show you why a carrier probably wouldn't take this load, right? So fuel, diesel fuel and tractor trailers, they get about 6 to 6.5 miles to the gallon. Okay. How do we know that? Remember our friend Google?
Right.
So let's go back to Google. This is a free resource, right? And we can just type it in like as if we were dummies, right? How many miles per gallon, right, does a semi get? Or something to that effect, right? And this week says 5.6. So I said 6 to 6.5. So let's take the middle ground. Let's say 6 for the sake of argument. We okay with that? 6. This one says 7.2. So I'm gonna take the average. So you guys good with that? 6 miles per gallon. We cool with that? So
Yes.
now if we get a calculator, I'm gonna put my calculator on the screen also as I'm talking to you guys, but I can't share the calculator at the same time and share my other screens. So, but you guys bring your calculators out too, if you don't mind, so we can do some math. So looking at this first load, this $5,000 load that we just saw, right? It was going 2,298 miles, correct? You guys see that?
Yeah.
I just want to show you what the carriers see when they're doing their numbers and they're telling you why they can't take a specific load, because they're thinking about their bottom line. And as a dispatcher, you have to at least have a little bit of consideration with that, a little bit too, if you want to continue to work with that carrier and have that relationship. So if you take 2,298 on your calculator and you divide it by 6, which is the 6 miles per gallon, right? That will tell you how many gallons of diesel is going to take to run that 2,298 mile run. What is that answer?
383.
383 gallons, right? Now, they coming out of Atlanta. So the question becomes, well, what's the price of diesel in Atlanta? Or what's the price of diesel in the Southeast? What's the number? Is it about $5 a gallon right now? Or is, I don't know, somebody throw a number at me.
I think I just, because I just came from Oklahoma, and I think when I saw it, it was like, I want to say like 5.15 maybe.
Okay, so whatever. So let's go with that number. Let's say that's true. And I'm not saying you're not telling the truth, but let's just say it's true. So you're going to take that 383 gallons to run that 2,298 miles. You're going to take 383 and you're going to multiply it times times $5.15, I think you said, right? Times
Right.
5.15. And that's going to be the cost of diesel, which is $1,972.45. Okay. That's how much diesel they're going to spend running to get from Atlanta, Georgia to Fresno, California on this particular load. The load
That's
is
just
paying $5,000, right? So if you take out fuel, right? 5,000 minus, let's just round it up, 2,000. It was 1,972. Let's round up to a nice whole number, right? So let's say 2,000. So that's $3,000 left, right?
Mhm.
So now you dispatch for them, and let's say the dispatching fee or the range percentage as far as, so when you dispatch for someone, you can either charge a percentage per load that you book or a range, a fee range, a flat fee range per week that you want to charge. Most new dispatchers charge a percentage per load because they feel they're getting more money because they're booking more loads. It's just a numbers game. So if you go the percentage route, the range is between 5 and 10%. I often tell new dispatchers, be fair and just pick a middle ground, like 7. Okay. So let's say we're charging 7%. So what's 7% of $5,000? Because you're charging the percentage off the gross amount of that load that you booked initially. You're not charging it after fuel. You're charging it prior to fuel. You're charging the gross amount. So what's 7% of 5,000?
350.
350. So now you're going to take, so now the carriers in their mind, okay, I just spent 2,000 on fuel. So now I got 3,000 left. I got to pay you 350. So I'm taking out 350. So gee, I got $2,650 left. So I'm running 2,298 miles for $2,650. That's why carriers are asking for more money, like $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, so that their bottom line looks a little bit better after they pay their major expenses. Fuel is a number one line item expense, and then insurance. And then if you got a dispatcher, you know, they're not a major expense, but if you're keeping them running, you know, you're making your money too. But this is what the carriers have to keep in mind, right? So this is when you see that load, just because you see $5,000, you say, wow, that's a good load. But look at the number of miles, look where it's going, right? As a dispatcher, the terrain of where it's going, all of those things. Your carrier is going to educate you on this too. You know, over time, as you guys build that relationship, you and your carrier, they're going to talk to you about, yeah, this load is going to California, but man, $5,000, that's not enough, man, because I'm going to spend about $2,000 on fuel. So I need to get that 2,000 back. So let's say let's start with 7,000. So that'll cover at least the 2,000 for fuel that I added, that I negotiated at 7,000. If you can get 8, that'd be even sweller, right? Because let's say he got it for 8, right? And then now you take out 2,000 for fuel. So now he's 6, and then you take out your 7% of the 8,000, which is what, 560. So he's still doing decent now at that point. It's a little bit better. It's a little bit more motivating for the carrier to consider taking that load. You guys follow that? KB, any questions? Got your hand raised.
Hey, how you doing, Charles?
Yeah.
Just a quick question: Are the brokers really gonna up that extra 1,000, extra 2,000 when you realize, like, wait a minute here, the carrier is losing, like, you know, $1,000, $2,000?
So some brokers will do that. And if you have resources that can show the broker that you know what you're doing, that they're underbidding that rate, then yes, they will. See right here, if you notice on this load board, it gives a spot market rates. This is the broker to carrier spot market. It's paying between $2.22 to $2.77 per mile with an average of $2.42. And it's paying $5,561. So they posted it for 5,000. So they under posted it for $561 to begin with, right there. This is a corporate load board that I'm showing you access to. This is what I'm saying though. Okay. So if you have analytical tools that can help you see what the current state of the market is. And when you're talking to brokers and you'll say, okay, well, I see you have it for 5,000. You don't want to tell them, hey, I got access to this resource that shows me that it's paying more. Why would you say any of that? You just say, hey, the market dictates that it should be paying at least 55 to 6. You got it for 5. We're not going to move our truck for at least 55 or 6,000 or whatever that number is, right? You don't tell them because I've been looking at a DAT board that shows it. They were like, okay, well, you know, you don't say any of that. You just, you get what I'm saying? So, but that's how you put all your tools together, and then your analytics, you see where the lane is going, you see what the market is yielding for that lane based off of your analytics and your research, and then you'll be able to try to get the best rates for your carrier. And your carrier will kind of help you as well, because carriers, truck drivers, owner operators, they talk, right? They say, man, I'm not going out to California from Atlanta for no less than 8 or 7. So, and carriers talk, you know, so that's the best way to get rates and to negotiate with the brokers, is understanding what the carrier is going to take for that load. They're not moving their truck or anything less, because they're losing money. You're spending too much on fuel. It's going to take away from your bottom line, right? So as a dispatcher, if you can kind of feel that with your carrier and you build that relationship with them, communication and relationship, and keep those channels open, it'll be long lasting between you and that carrier. And when difficult times come, they'll still be willing to work with you because you work with them through their difficult times and you stuck with them. So, all right. So circling back, right, we went over the 3 major equipment types. We went over the specialty equipment types. Now, what are some of the methods that you use to get the carriers? How do you, okay, we understand which equipment types, or we've chosen between one of the 3 majors or the specialty. We made our decision, whatever decision it was. We say, okay, now that we got a type of carrier we want to go after, what are some of the methods that we do that under, right? Well, the first of which is if you have truck stops near your area where you live, right, you can physically show your face. That's probably the best way. You're making eye contact, you're in person with them, you get a chance to impress and sell yourself. This is sales, right? You are selling yourself and your service to an owner operator to potentially add to their bottom line, and you add a service to them to help keep their trucks running. You ask them, well, what are you grossing per week now? And if I can have the opportunity to bring that up by $1,000 or $2,000, would you be willing to work with me? Or whatever way that you want to speak to the carrier that you feel is effective, right? Going to the truck stops, passing out business cards and flyers. Of course, having your dispatcher packet, which we will get into shortly, that you want to discuss, that you want to pass out to the carrier, especially if they're interested, then you give them what they need right up front. The documentation that needed to make this a legitimate arrangement between you, the dispatching company, and the owner operator or the carrier or the trucker, okay? So number 1 is truck stops. So someone said Atlanta, Georgia they were from, so we can, again, go to our friend Google. Let me log out of this and get an idea of where they are, right? So you could say Google, you could say truck stops near Atlanta, Georgia, right? And they just pop up, right? And you hit more places so you can get the big map. And then here they are. And for those of you who are familiar with the terrain in Atlanta, the interstates, 75, 285, 585, I-20, I-675, and these are all the truck stops, and they're listed over here. The big truck stops are the TAs, the Flying J's, the Petros, the Loves, those are the major, the Pilots, those are the major truck stops. But then you have those small mom and pop type of truck stops too, Quick Fuels and Citgos and all those other things too. Truck plazas like McDonough Truck and Auto Plaza. So you got a pretty good cluster right here in the metropolitan area of Atlanta, Marietta, and all of these different areas right here. So you see, and you can pretty much frequent those truck stops, and you may run into the same truck who may be at the next truck stop maybe a couple of days later. He may have did a load and then came back and got to the truck stop while he's resting or whatever. And he said, man, did I see you the other day? I said, yeah, I'm trying to get some carriers to dispatch for. He said, you know what, I'm gonna give you a shot. Because I saw you the other day, you out here grinding, you hustling, let me give you an opportunity. You never know the type of personality you're gonna run into, okay? You never know. But success is where preparation and opportunity meet, right? So once you're prepared and the opportunity comes, then you'll be successful. So just remember that. Truck stops are that what we consider number 1, as far as a method of getting carriers. Another method, number 2, is cold calls. And we have several ways that we can do cold calls. We have resources you can look up, phone numbers for carriers under different resources in our portal. But the concept of a cold call is you calling someone you've never spoken to in your life before. You have at least 30 seconds, maybe to a minute or 45 seconds to convince them that they need you or they need your service or what you are offering. So how do you open that? What do you say to get their attention? If you grab their attention, what do you say to continue to keep it? How do you have exchange and dialogue to prolong the conversation? And then also a great form of communicating is always listening, not just talking. A great form of communication is also listening, because once you say what you say, just be quiet for a minute and listen to what the carrier has to say, because you'll pick up on some things that they're saying, and then you'll be able to rebut and encounter what they're saying to kind of continue the conversation, right? And that's a sales strategy, that's a call center strategy. So if you come from a sales background or a call center, if you worked at a Verizon or a phone call center background area, then you can use those skills and because those are universal skills, right? So you can transfer those into this industry and apply it to a common day owner operator or carrier, all right? So that's the cold calls. Then we have word of mouth. You may know someone who knows someone who knows someone. That's a truck driver who happened to maybe, word spreads quickly. It's still a good form of communication. We have text. You can text people, texting scripts. We have software that we recommend that you can do. Email campaigns. You can create one campaign and then put an abundance of emails in and send that one campaign out to various emails, and you can see how many hits you get from that. Any hits you get from an email campaign or a texting campaign is considered a warm lead. You should definitely at least follow up at least once with that person, because now it's it's no longer cold, it's warm. When someone takes what they received from you and responds to it, then it's a warm lead, because now they are inquiring from you what you sent to them. So it depends on what you said in your text or your email campaign that got their attention, right? That turned it from a cold communication into a warm lead. And then you take that and you nurture that into what's called a conversion. You want to eventually get that person under a dispatcher agreement, okay? And that's the process. And then you also have social media. Now, I didn't put it in here, but social media, like the different owner-operator groups in Facebook. You have LinkedIn groups that are out there, job postings on Indeed, Career Builder, things like that, that you're a dispatcher looking to service owner-operators with these. Hey, I'm a dispatcher from Atlanta looking to service owner-operators with these particular equipment types. So now you've gotten real granular and specific. You said, I only dispatch for these equipment types. So you won't get calls from any other equipment types. You only get calls from the ones you put down: dry van, flatbed, reefer, right? If that's what you want to do. And that's great, because now you've congested and constricted, to those specific equipment types. You won't be getting calls from everybody else, right? So let's say you did all of that. You got your equipment type of carrier you want. You got a method that you use that was effective in your opinion of all the different methods. And let's say you got a carrier that communicated to you and said, hey, I want you to be my dispatcher. I need a dispatcher. What do we need to do to make this work? Well, we have in our portal what we call a dispatcher packet, okay? And it contains 3 documents, okay? The first of which, let me log out the load board real quick. The first of which is the dispatcher agreement. And the dispatcher agreement is the contract, if you will, the agreement between you and that carrier, that owner operator, that truck driver, saying, hey, I am the dispatcher. I provide this service for you at this particular price point. Do you agree to this? Right? That's essentially what it says, but there's verbiage in here that says it's in like legalese, if you will, right? Your dispatching agreement, who you are, your name, your company, your phone, your email, your website. And then the owner operator you're sending this. This is a template, our template. You are sending this to the owner operator to fill out and return to you to make it official, right? So they're going to put their information in, their truck number, their trailer number, their motor carrier number, and their DOT number. Every owner operator who is authorized to transport freight from a shipper to a receiver has that authorization represented by an MC number and a DOT number. Okay. So if you are dealing with someone who does not have that, then you should move on to someone else, because the reason being is you can't book a load for that person, because when you call a broker to book a load or schedule a load movement by that carrier, your carrier, for that broker, and you getting paid for that, if they don't have an MC number or DOT number, when the broker looks their information up, the broker can't legally work with them because they're not legally authorized to transport freight. And that's governed by the FMCSA, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Yes, Jessica.
Hey Charles, yeah, like I was texting you yesterday afternoon, every time I get interest and I tell them to fill out the paperwork and I send them an email, they don't never fill out the paperwork. So I was just wondering why they are not filling out. And I had one person ask me that had a hot shot. He asked me, is this a contract? So I don't know if they feel like they're afraid that they're signing up for a contract, but I explained to him that it's an agreement, it's not a contract. So what other ways can I get them to fill out this paperwork so I can get going? Because I feel like that's what's stopping me. They don't want to fill out the paperwork.
You may want to offer them, if you are willing to do that, offer their first load for free. Book a load for them for free in order to show to them that you know what you're doing, to prove to them that you are who you say you are. And then for them to agree, if you do that, and if you're satisfied with what I did for you, the service I provided for you, will you fill out this dispatcher packet, which contains the agreement and the other documents, and then see what they say to them.
Yeah,
If they don't do it after that, I'll move on to the next person, because now you're at this
I
point.
tried to say that before, and they was like, well, how you gonna get paid if you don't have this stuff in writing? Like, that's what one driver asked me
Right.
one time when I said that. He was like, well, if I do that, how you gonna really get paid if you're not, if you're doing it for free, you're not getting paid?
That's the whole concept of free. You tell them, look, that's why I said I'll do it for free the first time. I want to show you that I know what I'm doing in an effort for you to believe me. And then we'll set up the agreement so that I can get paid, because now it's contractually binding when we have an agreement. So why would you ask me how will I get paid if I'm doing something for free? So
Yeah, that's true.
that tells me that he wasn't listening, he or she, right? To begin with. But it is what it. But so at some point you got to ask yourself, well, am I wasting my time with this one person? Because there's so many other carriers out here who will need or do need dispatchers, right? And are not as reluctant as this particular one seems to be. Okay, so you just got to ask yourself, at what point do you come to a crossroads and say, hey, I'm wasting my time, let me move on to someone else, right? And I don't know what that point is with you, but it'll come. So Michelle, Ms. Howard, I saw your hand raised, but then you put it down.
Yeah, I had a question. I was considering getting like a Sprinter van, and I wanted to dispatch I wanted to start my own company. So I would need to have an MC number and a DOT number to do that, right? In order to get loads from a broker.
Correct. If you are getting your own equipment type and that specialty equipment type of a Sprinter van, then you would need, if you're going to be transporting freight, you would need an operating authority to do so. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. All right. So this is the dispatcher agreement, the template that we provide for you as an example. This is a springboard for you. It doesn't have to be verbatim. You can change the verbiage in it if you like. But the point of this is, so the dispatcher agreement, the carrier, you're putting your dispatcher information in here, who you are or who your company is, ABC Dispatching or ABC Logistics, right? Dispatcher or dispatch company. Okay. Your phone number could be your personal phone until you get a business phone number, because you need some form of communication. Just because you don't have a business line should not stop you from having a way for the carrier to contact you, right? That would not make sense to me whatsoever, right? An email, it could be a personal email until you get a business email, another way of the carrier communicating with you. So do not put up your own roadblocks in your journey to success. Just because you don't have a business email yet, you are working on, you're building your company. You are new entrepreneurs, you're building your company. So are you the type of person that will wait until you get a business email and pass over potential carriers to dispatch for, or will you be the type of person that will get those carriers with your own personal email because you want to communicate with them, right? And then a website. whether you have one or not, right? So if you don't have one, then you won't put it in your dispatcher agreement. If you do, you will put it in there, right? www.abclogistics.com or whatever you call your website, right? And then here is where the carriers want to fill out the information. You know, let's say XYZ Trucking. I'm XYZ Trucking. Carrier, owner, operator, truck number 1, trailer number 2, MC number 12345, DOT number 67890. Hereby authorize or grants authorization or permission to ABC Logistics, the dispatcher or dispatching company, to act as my dispatcher or logistics manager for the sole purpose of searching for and booking loads. That's what dispatchers do. You search for and you book those loads with the brokers. Process all broker paperwork. What is that? Broker paperwork consists of the broker carrier agreement and the rate confirmations. Those are the two main broker paperworks that exist today. Because if you call a broker for your carrier on a load that you're trying to book for them, the broker's going to ask you for the MC number of your carrier to see if they are already set up and approved for that brokerage. If they type in that MC number into their system and it doesn't show, that means that the carrier is not set up. So they have to go through the process of the broker carrier agreement. That's the broker paperwork to get set up and approved, to get vetted out, to make sure that they are good. After that, then we discuss the rate of the load, and the broker sends a rate confirmation, which is the second part of the broker paperwork, to confirm the numbers on that particular load that you called about initially. Okay, so it's the broker carrier agreement and it's the rate confirmation. Those are the two types. The broker carrier agreement, if your carrier is not set up with that brokerage and approved, gets them set up and approved. The rate confirmation officially books that specific load that you were calling about at that point in time, or any loads going forward after your carrier has been approved. Does everybody understand that part?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Hey,
right.
Mr. Mundy, I got a quick question.
Okay.
Like as far as like keeping track of the times they could be on the roads and stuff like that, is the dispatcher responsible for that? Because I'm seeing that here, like at the bottom of it, where it's saying the extra things that we need to do for the carrier, like acting as their manager. Do we keep up with their times they can drive and all that type of stuff?
That is the carrier's responsibility. So
Okay.
that's what you're referring to is the hours of service.
Yes,
So,
sir.
because carriers have a certain number of hours they can be on the road legally driving to avoid accidents from fatigue and stuff like that, swerving and killing people. Because there was cases years ago about that. So they came up with these ELDs and hours of service concepts, and they can only drive so long, right? So what you can do is when you're booking loads for your carrier, your load to load to load, you can ask them, hey, do you have enough hours for me to book your next load? I just got you this load. When you deliver this load, will you have enough hours to book this load, or do you need to do your reset to reset your hours and then book this load? And they'll tell you, they'll say, yeah, I got enough hours to get it, or no, let's book it the next day because I need to do my reset. So they'll tell you. They will not put themselves in a position to be out of service for not having enough hours, because they want to continually run to make the money. Okay, so the primary priority rests on the carrier. You can be a secondary asset by constantly asking them as you're booking loads, hey, have you got enough hours to get this next load that I'm going to book for you? You're picking it up today, Wednesday, you're going to deliver Friday. Will you be straight on hours? You have enough hours to pick this up? And they'll tell you yes or no. Okay. So processing all broker paperwork and obtaining and or submitting all necessary documents required in order to expedite loads and dispatch via telephone, fax, or email for my truck in the state of wherever they reside. So obtaining and submitting all necessary documents required. So brokers, in addition to having the broker carrier agreement to onboard or get that your carrier set up with them, they also require other documents from your carrier. That's why at the bottom of the dispatcher agreement and the carrier profile, we ask the carriers to send us if we're going to be working with them, we ask carriers to send us copies of those documents. That way we have them already. So when we're dealing with all these different brokers, because every broker is going to ask for these documents, if your carrier is not already set up with that brokerage and they need to be onboarded with them and approved, what are these necessary documents? Well, it's a copy of their operating authority, their MC authority certificate, okay? Because that shows that they have the authority governed by the FMCSA to transport freight. Yes, Michelle.
I have a question. I haven't pulled up the agreement yet, but is this something that we can edit like with our own logo or company name?
That's correct. This is just a
Okay.
template. This is just a
Okay.
template. I'm just giving you an example of what the template looks like. That's what you should do. Don't take mine because I'm not this ELLC is not dispatching for whatever the name of your
Right.
dispatch is. So if you have a logo, put it in there. If you have a company name and things like that, put that in there, edit it out. This is a PDF. We have it in a Word version too, which is what you will be able to edit.
Okay.
Put yours in it and then save it as a PDF. So when you send it to the carriers to fill out, it's in PDF format, not in
Okay.
Word format, okay?
Thank you.
Okay. So the necessary documents that you want the carriers to send you copies of when they return the completed dispatcher packet to you, the first one was the operating authority, the MC authority letter, which is the operating authority that they get from the FMCSA. Whenever a motor carrier gets authorized to transport freight, they get an MC authority letter saying that, hey, the FMCSA deemed that you are eligible to transport freight. That is an MC authority letter. What does that look like, right? It looks like this. This is an example. It says it right there, sample, right? Sample. And it says certificate, MC authority certificate. Brokers get licenses. They get an operating authority too. This is an operating authority for a motor carrier. It's a truck driver, an owner operator. It's called a certificate. The operating authority for a freight broker is called a license. It's coming from the same governing body, which is the Department of Transportation and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Is coming from the same government body because the same government body issues operating authorities to both carriers and brokers. Okay, Jessica.
Hey, so the way I look for the carriers is on the FMCSA, and it says if they're active and if they have insurance. So I talked to a guy this week, and he was talking to me, telling me he's doing his own thing on the side. And so I asked him if he had insurance, and he said no. But on the FMCSA, it said he is active and he has insurance. So how does that work?
That means he
If
lied.
the
That means he lied. And you
If the
should work with it.
if the FMCSA is showing that they have insurance, but they really don't.
Right. So he either lied to you, and you're talking about the Safer website that you looked up.
Yeah, the FMCSA register website that you use to look for the carriers. Some of them been telling me they don't have insurance and they just got active or whatever.
Right.
So how does the because I
Remember-
thought the FMCSA was a legit transportation government website.
That's correct. Do you remember his MC number or the name of his company?
No, I forgot because I reach out to so many every day. I forgot.
Okay. Well, like LaDonna said, that person is not being transparent. She says, be leery of those types of individuals. Just move on to the next one. Because if they got to lie to you about something as simple as that, that's a matter of public record. Everybody sees it. Who knows what else they'll lie to you about?
So how do they get it showing that they show insurance, but he's telling me he don't have it? Like, how does it get approved on the FMCSA?
If it shows, if the Safer website or the FMCSA shows them as having insurance, then it's documented that they have insurance. And it shows the insurance name or anything like that. So, for example, you go to, like for this example that we're looking at, you go to licensing and insurance. And you go over to the report, you'll be able to see all their information, that they have insurance. They have liability insurance of $750,000. You know, right here, the insurance type, they are insurance. They have insurance on file. Then you can see active pending insurance. You can click that link and it shows literally who their company is. They filed the BMC 91X, which is the BIPD, which is the bodily injury property damage. And it shows Progressive Northern Insurance Company as their insurance provider and the policy number. So this is the FMCSA's company snapshot safer website. So, and that's why I was asking you, did you know that person's MC number, DOT, or the name of their company? We can pretty much literally put that to bed by going in there and looking at it, right? So, Safer updates their systems weekly, Ursula. So, and they stay in because you can imagine that they deal with so many carriers, so many brokers, so many freight forwarders that it would behoove them not to keep their stuff as updated and current as possible, right? Because of so many people they're dealing with, and the possibility for crossing of the difference between being insured or not insured, right? So they keep it updated weekly with that. So that, I don't want to say it'll never be a concern, or an issue, but the likelihood of that happening is slim to none. And they deal with thousands of because the insurance companies want to make sure that their clients, which are the carriers, are in the system that's going to give them the authority so that they can run to make money to pay the insurance company, right? So everybody's making money off this person, you know, so it's just, that's how it is, right? But this is an example of the MC authority letter. This is what the FMCSA sends to either the broker, or in this case, the carrier, the motor carrier, saying that, hey, this certificate is evidence of the carrier's authority to engage in transportation as a common carrier of property, except household goods, by motor vehicle in interstate or foreign commerce. In other words, they can transport freight across state lines as a common motor carrier. This is the first document that we were referring to, the additional documents that's needed in addition to the broker carrier agreement when the broker is onboarding the carrier. They need a copy of their MC authority letter, which is the certificate. Another one is a copy of their certificate of insurance. So not only does the carrier need to have a document saying that they are authorized to transport freight, but they also need a document to say that they have insurance to cover what they are transporting, right? They have to have insurance covering what they're transporting, covering what they're authorized to transport as motor carriers. And this is what an example of a certificate of insurance looks like. In box 2 is the producer, which is the insurance company. Like this last example, Progressive, that was on the last example there, right? Progressive Northern, that could have been for that company. It would be right here. The insured is the actual motor carrier themselves, ABC Trucking or XYZ Transportation or whatever they call themselves. Box 4 right here on their certificate of insurance. And this will be filled out. This is just a blank one showing you what it looks like. But theirs, when they send it to you, a copy of it will be filled out with the information, okay? Box 4 contains the contact information of the insurance agent for the policy for that coverage, right? Jane Doe or John Doe, their email, phone number, fax number, things of that nature, okay? Down here in box 5, it shows the type, it shows the policy number, when it became effective, and when it expires, and the policy type, whether it's, in most cases for motor carriers, they're going to have generally 2 types. There can be others, but the general 2 types are cargo, which is the minimum of 100,000, and liability, which is the minimum. The legal minimum is 750,000, but most carriers carry 1 million. Okay. So this is what a certificate of insurance looks like. Okay. Just so you see that. And then another document that is asked for is a W-9. Okay. The W-9, and you guys know what a W-9 is because you're going to have it for tax purposes too, where you put your EIN number attached to your business. You fill this out with your name that's on your tax return. And if you have a DBA, then your alias, you're doing business as, the type of legal structure that your company is, whether it's an LLC, single member LLC, or S Corp, C Corp, or sole proprietor. And then your street address, city, state, and zip, boxes 5 and 6. And then under part 1, with the tax identification number, the TIN, you're going to have an EIN and not a social. You don't attach your social security number to your business. You attach your EIN number to your business because your EIN number acts as your social for your business, whether it's the carriers or for your company to your dispatching company. Okay. So these are the 3. There is a 4th document if your carrier has a factoring company, which is a credit application, but the 3 main documents on the dispatcher agreement that we want the carriers to send us copies of when they return the dispatcher packet are those 3 right there, okay? And also in the dispatcher agreement, you let them know what your service fee is, whether, again, if it's a percentage or if it's a flat fee. For us, we recommend, if you're going to go the percentage route, 5 to 10%, depending on how much you know about. If you're green or brand new to dispatching, I would keep it no higher than 7%. If you feel you got some experience, 8 to 10. Okay. If you choose the flat fee range, $250 to $500 a week, $250 to $500 per week, irregardless of how many loads. So let's say you bill them, you invoice them for $500 every week. You start off getting them loads Monday through Friday, and on Friday you invoice them $500 for all the loads you book for them for that week. If you go the flat fee range. If you go the percentage range, you can still book them on Friday. You just got to tally up all the loads you book for them at whatever percentage you book them for. Let's say 7%, and you book 6 loads from Monday through Friday. So whatever that gross dollar amount is, you take whatever percentage you're charging for of that, and then you invoice them that amount. It's the same thing, okay? So that's the first document in the dispatcher packet that you send to the carrier that got your interest, or you got their interest in you being their dispatcher, okay? The second document that you would send to the carrier is the carrier profile, okay? The carrier profile is just the carrier giving you their requirements of you as it relates to what types of loads they want. You know, what their equipment type is, how much weight they want to haul, what their cents per mile is. They're giving you specifics. So it helps you in a sense because now you can cater your load search according to the carrier's requirements in the carrier profile. They just made your job a little easier, right? You know, what's the cents per mile? What's the maximum number of pickups, maximum number of deliveries? Do you want to touch the freight or not? This is the carrier filling this out, right? Do you want to go in the mountains? Do you want to deal with tows? What's your weight limit? What's your home time, like weekends or whatever, nights, you know, any endorsements like hazmat or tanker, any, you know, the type of endorsements, any clearance types, you know, do you have TWIC? In other words, do you get on the ports? TWIC is transportation worker identification. DBIDs and rapid gauge, that's for the military installations. STA is for like airports when you're getting up luggage. STA stands for Security Threat Assessment. That is a certification that you got to get with the with TSA. Okay, when you're dealing with going to certain areas on the airport, you have to have an STA badge on, Security Threat Assessment, and so things like that. So if you have any clearance types, so, and I should have put SCAC on there too. SCAC is dealing with the TWIC. SCAC is a SCAC, stands for Standard Carrier Alpha Code. It's just an identifying number for trucking companies. When they have multiple trucks and they're going to the ports multiple times, that one SCAC number covers for that whole company all the assets or all the trucks that they have. Okay, that's what a SCAC is for you port people, right? All right, and then it shows the carrier profile also includes like what areas of the country they want to run, like the Northeast regions, the Midwest, Southeast, Southwest, and West. And then they can even circle, because the states in those regions are listed here alphabetically. So they can say, okay, I want to go in the Midwest, I want to run in Ohio, I want to run in Michigan. They'll circle those states because they know where they get most of their money at. So they'll circle the areas. So they're helping you in a sense. They'll circle the areas that they know that they can get money in, and then they know that they can get loads into and out of, right? Where there's a high volume of freight moving into and out of the areas. So carriers know this because they've been running. Unless they're a brand new carrier and they're not really familiar with the terrain of the country, they will know otherwise, right? So, and again, we repeat that note like we did on the dispatch agreement of also sending us copies of those other documents, because as dispatchers, it's helpful for us to have those copies of those additional documents, the MC authority letter, the certificate of insurance, and the W-9, because when we are dealing with the brokers and the brokers are asking for these documents to onboard our carriers, wouldn't it be convenient for us to just simply send it to them because we have copies of them, as opposed to chasing down the carrier saying, hey, I need copies of these documents, and who knows when they'll get it to us. So it's best to get those things up front to make your dispatching process a little bit more efficient and effective, right? So instead of slowing down the process, you want to streamline it, okay? So that's the second document in the dispatcher packet. The third document is what's called a limited power of attorney. And don't let that scare you. All it is limited power of attorney is the carrier, the truck driver, giving you, the dispatcher, permission legally to represent them in matters of onboarding them with the brokers and booking loads. When I say represent them, you are the one that's filling out the broker carrier agreements and the rate confirmations on behalf of the carriers. When I say filling out, you are signing and printing their names and not yours, because you're not running the loads, the carriers are. So why would you, as a dispatcher, sign your name on those documents? Why would you sign a dispatcher's name on a broker carrier agreement? It doesn't say broker dispatcher agreement. It says broker carrier agreement. When you are booking loads for your carrier with a broker, you don't sign a dispatcher's names in place of the carriers. You sign the carriers and print the carrier's name. And the limited power of attorney legally gives you authorization to do so. This document needs to be notarized. The person who has to get it notarized is the person who is giving another party permission and authorization to represent them. And who is that? That is the carrier. The carrier is the one who's giving up permission for you to represent them in matters of completing any and all broker carrier agreements for any and all brokerages that the carrier is onboarding. That covers everything. And complete any and all rate confirmations, which officially books the load. Now there's a third one here, which is optional. If you and your carrier agree that you want to do extra things outside of dispatching, like administrative tasks, like bookkeeping and invoicing for them, then he'll give you permission to sign their information on that as well through the limited power of attorney. But if you're going to do those extra tasks, I would charge extra for the service. So, Mr. Bundy, I'm in Long Beach, California. What documents you mentioned the carrier need to go to the ports? So if you're Danielle, if your carrier is going to run in the ports, they need to be at least UIIA. They have to have a UIIA credential, which is the Uniform Intermodal Interchange and a Facilities Agreement. In other words, giving them authorization to come to the ports. And then they need a TWIC card. They need a driver's license, a CDL driver's license, a TWIC card, Transportation Worker Identification. They need to run up under someone's SCAC if they don't have their own as a carrier, or if they're at least under an MC of a carrier with a SCAC or a broker with a SCAC, SCAC, which is a standard carrier alpha code, and even C-Link cards. That's something new as well, but the main thing is the TWIC and the SCAC and UIIA, okay, for the ports, okay? So these three documents, the dispatcher agreement, the limited power of attorney, and the carrier profile make up what's called the dispatcher packet, which is what you will send to or give to, if you're in person at a truck stop, to a potential owner operator that you're getting ready to dispatch for. And they will return all of these back to you, plus copies of those other documents you asked for, right? The copy of the MC authority letter, copy of the certificate of insurance, copy of the W-9. Now, per each carrier, you keep all of that, either hard copies or digital copies per each carrier. So now you have them internally in your company. So now you are starting to be a business person at this point. So now you, after you get all that stuff back, now you take that carrier profile and you see what the carrier is looking for on the profile as far as loads. And then you begin to cater the load search according to the profile, where they want to run, how much weight they want to haul, how much cents per mile do they want. And now you go to a load board and you start to find loads. Hey, you're empty now. When do you want to be under a load? Let's say today is Wednesday. Hey, I want to pick up something Friday, going out over the weekend and coming back Monday. So now you start to have the communications and the conversations with the carrier, and you guys starting to gel together. Now that you get all of the legalese stuff out the way, the paperwork out the way, now you can get into the process of booking loads. Okay. Any questions? I'm gonna stop here for now. Open up for Q&A. Okay, Ursula says, as I am reading, I keep noticing it also indicates notice of assignment. What is this for and when is it used? So that is another document that you would, I should have put a credit application on there instead of notice of assignment, because I did put credit application actually. So yeah, so if your carrier has what's called a factoring company, if they're using a factoring company to help float cash flow for them to keep them running as far as paying for fuel and stuff like that, then the factoring company usually runs a credit check on the brokers to make sure that they are factorable and favorable for a line of credit to extend to them so that they can pay, they can front the carrier's money. That's what factoring companies do. The first step in that process is the factoring company will send through either you, the dispatcher, or directly to the broker, a credit application. Okay, they'll run their credit to see if they're factorable, and also check and see if they've had any histories of non-payment to other companies, carriers. They had any red flags of having complaints filed against them, any claims filed against the broker's bond, things like that. Anything that's a red flag. If that credit application comes back favorable or positive for the broker, then the factoring company is going to say, okay, they're approved. They're going to send them what's called a notice of assignment. They're going to send, the factoring company is going to send the broker, because now they've been approved, they're going to send them a notice of assignment saying, hey, all invoices payable are now going to be payable to us, which is right here, notice of assignment. Okay. This is a notice. This is what a notice of assignment, an example of a notice of assignment. It'll have the factory company's information on there, but inside the notice of assignment, it'll say this letter is intended to notify you, broker, that as of whatever contract date, your invoice is payable that you normally pay to the carrier, which is our client now, have been assigned and transferred to us, the factory company, based on an existing agreement between us and our client. That's how a notice of assignment. They're shifting payment from the broker to the carrier, to the broker to the factory company. That's what a notice of assignment is. Because now the factory company has stepped in and is fronting the carriers some cash flow, certain percentage of the cash flow or the gross amount of that load that was booked. And then they're going after the broker for the remainders of the money and then paying the carrier the rest of that minus their percentage for their service. That's how factoring companies work. And that's what the notice of assignment is. Okay, just so you'll see what that is. It's just verbiage, right? And then the credit application, which was first sent, looks something similar to this. This is what a standard credit application will be sent from a factoring company to a broker. Hey, what's the name of your brokerage? How long you've been in business? What's your MC number, DOT number? Any references you got, yada, 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 right? And then they're going to run that, check all that stuff. And it could be more stuff in there too. What's your federal ID number, your domicile resident? What type of business are you? Are you partnership, corporation, individual, LLC? All types of things like that as well. So, any questions?
Yes, sir. So the factoring company, so the broker already knows, like you said, the broker already knows this stuff. I mean, they do it all the time, so they shouldn't have a problem filling any of this out, right?
No, they shouldn't. If they want to work with that carrier, they shouldn't have a problem. If a broker has a problem filling out a credit application by a factory company, that should raise a red flag to the carrier and the factory company and the dispatcher. Why is a broker so worried about a credit application? If they are a good broker, this should be a no-brainer. Let's just get this process over with. You know, filling out the paperwork, getting it back, so we can go ahead and get this load booked. You know, so.
I was just thinking because you know, the time process for them to fill this out, it should be in the same time frame as you booking the load, correct?
5 minutes.
Okay.
And factory companies and brokerages, technology is so advanced. Factory companies can just put the name of the broker in there or their MC number and look in a database, a system of blacklisted brokers, and see if that broker's information shows up in that blacklist, right? Ding. Okay, they're not in there. They're good, or whatever other means of vetting out the broker, right? So, Lakeisha. Lakeisha Gilmore, you had your hand raised. You could unmute yourself, please.
So sorry, I'm talking and didn't
No
unmute
problem.
myself. I'm sorry. Mr. Monday, I was going back to the dispatcher packet in reference to the drivers, our carriers filling out those documents and getting it back to us.
Mhm.
Now, in order for us to provide our service to them, they must complete the entire packet and send us those credentials, correct? Before we can book a load.
It is highly recommended that they do so, yes.
Okay.
Now,
okay.
do dispatchers book loads with not all the paperwork? Of course they do. Is it recommended that they have everything in place to be legit? Of course they should.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Okay, if I do run into a driver that's declining to fill out the dispatcher packet, would it be in your best suggestion for me just to move on?
It will be my best suggestion, especially if they don't fill out the dispatcher agreement, number one, and then the limited power of attorney, number two. Those are the two important ones. The carrier profile is just a list of requirements of the carrier wants you to fulfill for them. But the agreement is actually an agreement between the contract between you and that carrier, which legally binds you. And then the limited power of attorney is the carrier giving you permission to represent them when you are filling out and onboarding them with brokers. Okay.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Next. I'll do it for about 15 minutes and I'll go ahead and get off here. But let me ask this, was this information helpful? I always ask that question, was the information helpful? That's why I need to make sure that.
Yes, sir. Very helpful.
Does the power,
yes, sir.
does the power of attorney have to be notarized? Yes, it does. It does have to be notarized to be official. And the person who's responsible for getting it notarized is the carrier. The person who is giving up responsibility and giving the permission for someone else to represent them is the person who is required to have that document notarized. Okay. Ursula.
Good evening, Mr. Charles and everybody.
Good evening.
I was going over the workflow of dispatching.
Okay.
Finally getting a chance to go over this literature after almost a year. So I'm trying to beat this deadline of a year.
Oh no, you can extend that. That's not a problem.
I know, it's just my goal. It feels funny.
Okay, got you.
Okay, under number 3 where it says there's a note that says read, and it mentions read the rate confirmation to ensure it is in agreement with what the load has. Is
Right.
that because the broker sent that over to me as a dispatcher, since obviously I'm representing the carrier? Am I looking at this and what am I matching? I'm matching what they said it was going to be. I mean, what am I reading?
That is correct. So
Okay.
What Ursula is mentioning, guys, is when you book a load with a broker, after you've onboarded your carrier, or if your carrier was already onboarded with the broker sends you what's called a rate confirmation. Okay. And let's go to forms and documents. Let's go to our main menu and go to forms and documents. And broker agreement and rate confirmation. This is an example of what a rate confirmation looks like. Now, it's not filled out, it's just a blank copy of it. But it will be filled out with the information of a specific load by a specific broker with a carrier's specific information in it. But this is blank. But what Ursula is asking is, when they send this to you, you want to read over this to make sure, number one, that the details of the load is on the rate confirmation as per discussed when you were talking with the broker on the phone, right? And then number two, the rate, the line haul number, which is right here, the line haul rate, or what you guys, whatever you agreed to, if you negotiated a higher number, or what that rate was posted that you accepted, is right here. Because sometimes brokers try to lowball you or don't even put information on there, or sometimes they may try to add extra instructions on there without saying it when you first talk to them on the phone. So read through that rate confirmation just to make sure that they don't try to slip you a Mickey. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean. That's what we mean by the rate confirmation. You want to make sure that things align properly, because you don't want to, you know, set yourself or your carrier up for surprises. So you want to make sure. And brokers, it's sad to say, but we got some snakes out here, right? So you got to cut your grass and make sure you weed out that, you know. So
okay, there's a part two, so I think I understand that.
Okay, go ahead.
Is somebody on? I heard some. Okay.
No, they're gonna let you go ahead and do first.
Okay. So it says, all right, now we got the rate confirmation that's in agreement. We agree. Have the carrier sign an email to you. So now I'm thinking to myself, is that why we need the limited power attorney? Because wouldn't that be taking time for that person to have to now sign it?
That is correct. So that is an old workflow without the assumption of having a limited power of attorney. This is to assume that you didn't. If you didn't have a limited power of attorney, this will be the reasons why you should get one, because you have to constantly send your carrier a broker carrier agreement, have them fill it out, send it to the broker, and then send your carrier a rate confirmation, have them fill it out, sign it, and then you send it back to the broker. That's going to take a lot of time. When that happens, the risk of losing that load or that broker sending that load to somewhere else increases, because the broker's not going to wait only so long before they take that load down from being held by you, put it back on the load board so someone else can grab it, because it's taking your carrier 30 minutes, 35 minutes to do all of this, because they may be driving, they haven't gotten to a hot spot yet or whatever. But if you have a limited power of attorney, ding, send it to the, discuss it with your carrier first. Hey, do you agree with everything? Let's go over this real quick, about three to 5 minutes. Make sure everything lines up with what we discussed with the broker. Do you agree with everything? Yeah, go ahead and book it. Okay. Send off to the broker. You're good.
Gotcha.
That was 5 minutes, right?
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
All right, you're welcome. Next.
I have a quick question, Charles.
Yes, sir. What's up, Kenny?
How you doing today? As far as this rate confirmation, is this how should I say, a standard looking rate confirmation, or do they have various types of styles?
They have various types of formats and styles. This is just a generic one so that you can see some of the data that's on it, and you'll be able to recognize what it is. So let's go through that. That's a very good question. Let's go through it real quick. So this is a blank rate confirmation. Most of them will have who the carrier is or the trucking company that you're dispatching for. It'll have their contact information, their phone, their fax number, and all of that too. And before I move on, let me answer that question real quick. Josie said, yes, can a load be posted on multiple load boards? Yes, they can. And I'll tell you why after we go over this rate confirmation. So it'll have the carrier's phone number, their fax number. It'll have the number of miles on that particular lane that you booked, the weight. Some rate confirmations wouldn't have the commodity on it. Some of them do. So it depends on how detailed that broker wants to provide this data to you in order for you to be more efficient as a dispatcher or a carrier if you're not using a dispatcher, okay? They'll have a load number or a reference number, because once the carrier gets to a shipper to pick up the load, they need to have a number to give them to reference that load so that the guys in the warehouse can go to the whatever aisle that load is in, snatch it off the pallet with the forklift and bring it to the tail of the to the loading dock doors and put it on the trailer, right? The BOL number, which is the bill of lading, and then the piece count, the number of pallets, right? Some rate confirmations may not have this data. If it does, it's even better, right? And then right here, Shipper's address. This is where the carrier, after you book the load with the broker, this is where they're going to drive their truck and trailer to the pickup location, which is the shipper. Another name for the shipper is the consignor, right? And then this is the consignee is the receiver where the carrier is going to deliver the freight. So sometimes they have these terms used interchangeably. You see shipper and then consignee, you're like, what the heck is that? Or you may see consignor here and receiver right here. So they mixed them up to confuse people. But another name for the shipper is a consignor. It's spelled the same way, except instead of the two E's, is OR, consignor, that's for the shipper. And another name for the receiver is a consignee, okay? So their shipping address, street address, city, state, and zip, things like that, so they can put it in their maps and go find it. When the pickup time, whether it's AM or PM, the facility may have a pickup time and ending time, beginning like it may between the hours of 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. You see, and then delivery times could be between the hours of 8 a.m. or 6 p.m. Or in both cases, it may be a 24-hour shipper, and in both cases, it'll say FCFS, first come, first serve. Those are the 24-hour shippers and receivers.
Yeah,
right?
I'm familiar with that. I'm a driver, so I'm familiar with all that.
Okay, there you go. So you're familiar with all the extra stops and things like that. So
Yeah, yes,
to
sir.
answer your question, yes, rate confirmations may have different, this is not a standard. They may have different data on here. The more detailed, the point to this is the more detailed a rate confirmation is, the better it will be for you as a dispatcher, because now you're able to share this data with your carrier. And
Okay.
it'll be good.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. So Josie asked a question earlier. Can a load be posted on multiple load boards? Yes. So if I'm a broker and I'm getting my loads from a shipper, right? I want to get that load moved quickly, right? So I want to post it on multiple load boards to increase my likelihood of me getting a call from a carrier on that load board, because not all carriers have logins for all load boards. One carrier may have a login for DAT, one carrier may have a login for truck stop, one carrier may have a login for 123, one carrier may have a login for all three, but not every carrier may have a login for all the load boards simultaneously. So if you post that one load on multiple load boards, the likelihood of getting multiple looks increases. So that's the reason why brokers post the same load on multiple load boards. It's a good selling point. It's a good way of increasing the likelihood of getting that load covered, getting that load moved. Okay. So hopefully that helped. I'll take 2 more questions.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
I already kind of asked this and got an answer, but in the event that you book a load for a carrier and they do not pay you, like how often does that happen? I heard that it does happen, but does it happen a lot? And is there any way that you can how do you kind of ensure that that doesn't happen? I mean, obviously there's dishonest people, but I just hear that it's happening a lot. So I just wanted to see.
Great question. So number one, it's not happening a lot, but it does happen. Okay, that's number one. Number two, the way to mitigate that is, number one, if you as a dispatcher you are providing good freight to your carrier, keeping them running, keeping them making at least, depending on the market, 8 to 10 grand a week or 10 to 12 grand a week. As a carrier, I would be retarded not to continue to use you, right? It would be in my best interest to keep you as a dispatcher and to keep paying you, right? So that's number one. Number two, if you have the ability, if you are really concerned about this carrier's not paying you, if you have the ability to unite with, let's say, 7 Oaks, which is a factoring company that we have on this training portal, where you bring a carrier to 7 Oaks and they get approved for factoring. 7 Oaks give you an affiliate percentage. They'll give you $200 or $300, whatever that number is. In addition to that, They provide a service where if you're the dispatcher that brought them an approved carrier, when they pay the carrier for purchasing their invoices, they'll pay you, the dispatcher, at the same time, whatever percentage you charge for booking that load. So now the worry of not being paid by the carrier has been eliminated, right? But let's say that you don't use that method or you don't know about it. Then, and the carrier doesn't pay you, right? There's been cases that I've seen that a dispatcher has, well, first of all, you're no longer going to book loads for that carrier. You cut them off. They haven't paid you the first time. You only get one time, right? Then number two, if it's a large enough amount, you can, file a claim against them, take them to small claims. The only thing with that is if the cost of small claims court exceeds the value of what they owe you, then it's not even worth it, right? So I'll just take the L on that one and not even deal with that carrier anymore, and then file a claim, or file something with I can't do with their insurance, but I can go after them a little bit with FMCSA. I've been talking to FMCSA reps about that. If we're contractually involved with a motor carrier and they have reached a specific contract with us, how does that work with their operating authority? Can we go after their operating authority for breach of contract? And they are still discussing that. They're saying, well, them reaching a contract with you financially, we're trying to determine whether or not that has any validity with them having the ability to transport freight. That's what the FMCSA and I have been discussing. Once they come to an agreement that I'm satisfied with, then I'm going to open this up. Like, look, we have the FMCSA behind us now. They have determined if a motor carrier who's authorized to transport freight has breached a contract that they're in, whether with a broker or a dispatcher or whatever, if they sign the contract and then they don't uphold their end of that bargain, so that's a discussion that's still ongoing. So, but those are the different methods. Keep your carriers running, go through a factoring company that offers to pay you, the dispatcher, at the same time that they pay the carrier through that affiliate relationship. And Seven Oaks is one that we deal with. That's the only one that we have on here so far. I will be looking at OTR. We're supposed to be having a meeting with them, and I want to see if they offer the same services as Seven Oaks. If not, I may not even put them on here. And then small claims. So,
Thank you so much. It's very helpful.
Okay. All right. Last question.
Quick question here.
Yes.
Thank you for the information. This was very helpful. I appreciate it. So quick question, just to kind of go back to what you were talking about. So there's no other way to get paid directly without, there's no other way to take the percentage of the top pretty much once you book a load, for the carrier, or is it only that you get paid from the carrier themselves? They pay you, they deposit the money in your account, whatever, however it is that's set up. How does that work?
That's correct. So here's a workaround for that, but you and the carrier will have to agree to this. But because you have a dispatcher agreement with the carrier, then the carrier is the only one that pays you after they get paid. Carriers truck drivers, owner operators get paid one of three ways. They get paid from a load directly from a customer, a shipper. They get paid from a brokered load or from a factoring company. Okay. Now, in all three of those cases, they pay you after they're paid. Right? Either you invoice them either Square, PayPal, whatever, however you send their invoice to them, right? So if you and that carrier put in the dispatch agreement and the carrier agrees to it, some other method of payment, let's say you say, I'll book this load for you. I need 50% up front or 25% up front and the rest afterwards. If a carrier is conscious enough to accept that, then so be it, right? I can't see that happening, but at least you got some of the monies and it shows the carrier has some skin in the game at this point. So now they're in it because they've given you some money. So now they're relying upon you to perform. So if you structure your dispatcher agreement in that way and present, because you can even argue with the carrier, well, not literally argue, but your argue can be like, look, there's been cases where carriers, I'm an honest dispatching company. We're entrepreneurs. We're adults. We're grown men, grown women. If you agree to these terms, we take 10, 20% upfront, and then for providing the dispatching services, and then upon you getting paid by the broker, shipper, or factory company, you release the remainders of that, the other 75% or whatever the difference is to us. And you put that in verbiage in the dispatch agreement. And then if that's the case, then you at least get something.
Something out of it. Yeah.
See what I'm saying? I would form a dispatch agreement that way, and then form it the basic way that I've been showing you, and see who bites. You see?
Understood. Okay, thank you. Also, so what's the most common form of payment from carrier to dispatcher? Do you know?
It depends on how you invoice them. I used to invoice with Square and PayPal, where we send a PayPal invoice to the email of the carrier, and they can either pay, if they have a PayPal account, they pay it directly through PayPal. PayPal and Square offers also the ability to pay with a credit or debit card. And you have to have a Square or PayPal business account set up, linked to your business account, so that when they send you the money, it goes into your business funding, your business checking, or wherever you direct it to. So,
understood. Thank you.
All right. All right, guys. So when a tow transpires, does a dispatcher still get paid? Truck order not used. I don't charge a carrier for that, and it shows the carrier that I am more vested in them, besides just trying to squeeze money. Truck order not used is when you book a load for a carrier. They're in transit to go pick that load up from the shipper. Broker calls the carrier, or you the dispatcher, and cancels that load. You invoice, or not invoice, but if the broker has what's called because tow is what's called an accessorial. So if you have an accessorial, if that broker has an accessorial of tow, then they're going to give them between, I don't know, what is that, 175 and 250 for that, depending on the situation, depending on what they have as their accessorial policy. All that goes to the carrier. I don't want none of that. And I said, let's find another load, man. And I apologize that we went through this unexpected. I didn't expect this from the broker, yada, yada, yada. But it shows the carrier that you are just as much skin in the game as they are. You're willing to give them that tow. Why would I take a percentage of a $250 tow? I don't need it. I want to go after the bigger fish, right? I want to show them that I am more involved in them, and I want this relationship long lasting, right? So, and the carriers appreciate that, and they see that in the person, right? There's a concept. You never step over dimes to chase pennies, right? You want to be transparent with your carriers, right? We're business people, right? Businessmen, businesswomen, and we behave as entrepreneurs, and we want to keep that, like LaDonna used a great word earlier, transparency. So that's a good word, transparency. So, all right, guys, great training tonight. Hopefully you guys got enough information. For those of you who attended as seminar participants, remember earlier I mentioned if you wanted to roll over into your ongoing training, you have that option. I think I might have missed it, but what is a TONU? TONU stands for truck ordered, not used. It's when you book a load for your carrier, they drive to the shipper to pick that load up, but the load is canceled prior to them getting to their destination of the shipper to pick it up. So that's a truck order not used. It's what's called an accessorial. An accessorial is extra fees that's paid to the carriers for things that happen that is outside of their control, like lumper fees, detention, TONU, layover, things of that nature. So those are accessorials, extra charges that are passed on to the carriers. Okay. What should we do if the broker refuses to pay TONU? If the broker refuses to pay TONU, then if the broker, so here's how it works. If the broker refuses to pay TONU, if TONU is part of their accessorial policy and is in their broker carrier agreement, then they're obligated to pay it. Then you file a claim against the carrier. The dispatcher has nothing to do with it at that point. The carrier files a claim against the bond of the broker to recover that money. That is the recourse. If a broker refuses to pay TONU and TONU is not an accessorial policy in their brokerage, then you don't have a claim because they never offered TONU. That's why when you're doing the broker carrier agreements, you want to look for stuff like that in the broker carrier agreement, you know, any type of accessorial. This is a sample of what a broker carrier agreement looks like in our forms and documents. You know, when you're looking in broker carrier agreements, you look for things like that under payments, under accessorial policies if they have it. And if it's not in there, if it's not on the rate confirmations, then you ask the broker prior to booking that load, hey, what's your policy on towing? Or what's your policy on detention? You know, how long does my carrier have to sit at a loading dock before detention kicks in? Is it 2 hours? Is it 3 hours? What's your policy on lumpers? Do they pay it and you reimburse them? Do you issue a T-check or a T-code? You know, what's the process on it? So, but these are things that are going to come up as you progress through your journey as a dispatcher. And the fact that we have already been through this and done it, so you have no worries. So we know the steps around those things, so that don't concern yourself with it, but understand what they are. So when they do come up, we'll be able to cover them downstream. All right? We're here to help, guys. All right. It is that time. Thank you very much for your attendance. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you. That's
Thank
good.
you.
One more, Damien. Damien, you have your, I'll take one more, Damien.
Yes, Charles, do you think it's a good idea for a dispatcher to have the tracking services and follow up with a carrier, just as the brokers do? Do you think that would be necessary or helpful?
It, in some instances, yes, and others, no. If you can afford to add it to your, roll it into your company, to add an extra service that you provide to carriers. Now, we have services in our back office that we offer.
Oh, really?
That's
Okay.
part of the membership, like truck and trailer service. So if you go to tools and resources back here, there are different services that we offer. Like, for example, if your carrier gets a blowout or a flat tire, things like that. I know you probably heard of truck and trailer service because you look like you got headsets on, so I think you're an owner operator, right? So truck and trailer service. So if you got a blowout, so where are you at now? You're doing a reset somewhere. Where are you sitting at right now?
Seattle.
Washington State. Ouch.
Yep. You know what?
Is it
Things
raining
are
over there?
changing. It looks like it, but it's not. I haven't seen the sun since yesterday.
Okay, so Seattle, Washington. So you say you got a blowout up there. We'll say Seattle, put it in Washington. So this is a service, right? And now you choose the category of whatever type of service you want. You're looking for a way station, rest areas, scales, motels, fuel stops. So let's say you're looking for, let's say you had a blowout up there. Boom. So you need a tire repair. And now you see all the options in that area. So you drill down to that specific location. In Seattle, Washington, Tacoma, up in that area, Fife, North Bend, Napa Vine. So yeah, so that stuff like that. So who sent you up there? That's a dead zone. Are you driving for a company?
I took a SRAM load up here from
Oh
Tennessee.
my God, they tricked
Didn't pay
you.
too bad.
SRAM Logistics.
No. Loads going to Florida out of here are over 8 again.
Okay.
I'm seeing some 86s and 85s on the board.
Right. So coming out of Seattle going to Florida, but going up to Seattle was you took SRAM up there, right?
Yeah, I took SRAM for 6 from Tennessee. So it wasn't
that's
too
not
bad.
bad. That's not bad.
I think all you potential dispatchers might be having a good time for a short while now, because the California strike, I think, is causing some ripples.
It
right
is
now.
the whole AB5 thing and everything. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think it's gonna spike for a few months
because it's causing
until they sort it out.
right. It's causing the driver shortage, so that raises demand for freight to be moved, which raises the rates up.
Yeah.
You'll see it, and it'll be reflected on the load board. You'll see that, and I'm glad that you are
Right.
mentioning that, because you are a carrier who's actually out there right now. So dispatchers can lean on you to give us an idea, like what's literally going on. Right? You went from Tennessee to Washington State for 6,000, and now you're coming out of Washington to Florida for 85. So that's not bad. So in
Yeah.
a week or week and a half time, that's $14,000. Right? So I mean, it is what it is.
That's right.
You know. So
Yeah, it's not too bad out here. You know, we just need fuel to come down some more. The reason why I'd asked the question about tracking is because to offer a full service in dispatching, you know how these brokers they want updates every day, right?
yeah, they do check calls.
They-
Yeah.
Right. They do check calls. I usually do an email to them every day. You know, most brokers want you to be on tracking, and which you know, I have almost every app for tracking.
Yeah, the bet like macro
Um,
and all the other ones. Yeah.
And I know even though there's a dispatcher involved, they're still going to require the driver to go on the tracking. But then there's still some brokers that still bug you every day wanting a location, even though you're on tracking.
So why not
And
just call the driver cell number? Because it's literally them that's in the truck moving your freight, Mr. Broker. Why are you, unless the driver's not answering their phone?
oh no, well, yeah, they'll call the driver. They'll always opt to call the driver first. But what if we want to offer us to sell the convenience of not being bugged by the brokers every day?
Yeah, that's true.
How would we do that? If we can't patch into the driver's tracking, you know, how do you normally do that? Do you just do it free-handed? Just you let the driver take care of it between him and the broker, or what do you do?
Yeah, I keep in contact with the drivers as well. But yeah, so I see now what you're asking as far as the extra tracking and extra things like that. So from a dispatcher's perspective, it's going to be a challenge because brokers want to only work with the drivers, the people who they are contracted to work with. They don't want anything to do with the dispatcher as it relates to tracking that load, because the dispatcher is not in the truck unless it's a husband and wife team and the wife is in the truck with them dispatching, of course, but that's usually not the case. So brokers want to deal with specifically the driver or at least the carrier that driver is driving under. So that could be, we may have to revisit that. We may have to table that for a minute.
Yeah, I think we have to look into that, you know,
Yeah.
to sell more convenience, you know.
Correct. And it'll be good because you are seeing it from a driver's perspective. So you have the best angle to kind of come up with something, just to kind of see what's going on out here. So.
Right.
Yeah. Which way did you, so you went from Tennessee, so you went through the Rockies.
Oh yeah, I came over every single mountain.
Yeah.
You know, but
Okay.
the load was light, you know, it wasn't too bad.
Okay, cool. What are you rolling? Were you a drive-in?
Reefer.
What's the continuous temperature that you're running under?
I came up on a -10 load.
-10. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was bread or something.
Okay. All right, you good. Very good. So yeah, so now we got a carrier. That's another thing we can do too. We can practice with you, or these dispatchers can practice with you, asking the carrier, see how nervous these guys sound, or these guys and girls sound when they're talking to a real carrier and trying to sell their service as a dispatcher. And Damien, let them have it. Let them have it.
Sure, I'd love it. I'd love it. No problem.
What better way for them to learn than to go through the experience with a real carrier? You are literally in Washington State in your reefer truck. You're probably at a truck stop doing your reset. And let them have it. This is what a carrier, if you say this to a carrier, they're not going to want to deal with you. If you say this could be better. Give them different perspectives. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I would love to link up.
Right.
All right.
Sure.
I just sent you my contact information, Mr. Bryson.
So I'll tell you what,
Okay.
since Saturday is moving intermediate, we can, if you're going to be on here Saturday, Damien, if you're going to be on here Saturday, we can kind of we can have a dispatcher, call you and try to sell their service to you and see what you think about that from an owner operator's perspective, assuming that you are here on Saturday. Okay.
I believe I will be.
Okay. All right, guys, I'm gonna get off here. It's past my bedtime. You ain't getting me in trouble with my wife. So
Thanks again.
All
Thank
right.
you.
I'm a
Thank
married
you.
man. I have boundaries.
Yes, yes, obey the wife. I'm a wife
Have a
too,
good
so
evening,
trust me.
everyone.
Yeah.
Good
So,
night.
thank you for your attendance. I appreciate you guys. If those of you who attended the seminar are interested in rolling over, go over to the purchase page. I'll say this for a third time, right? And then, claim your voucher, fill out the voucher, and then we'll take it from there if you do that. Other than that, if you are a seminar, you don't roll over, you will still get a copy of this recording emailed to you. Okay, at least. Okay. All right, guys.
All right.
I will see you on Saturday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Okay.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Good night.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Have a good
Okay.
evening. Thank you.
Take care. God bless.
Thank you.